My name is Courtney Coulson, a female to male to female detransitioner, and on this channel we try to figure out just what the hell is wrong with me. In this episode, we finally know just what the hell is wrong with me. Sort of, maybe, it's a theory. So, first of all, got my Michael Knight Knight Rider look going on. We got kit and car, so that's the theme for today. Not even intentionally, I was just getting dressed this morning and this is what we ended up with. But yes, so what is wrong with me? Well, I have been seeing a therapist. She's actually very good. I was referred to her, long story here, but I was not getting the hormones I wanted from my endocrinologist. She was only giving me Testosterone and Androfort, and I was having a really bad reaction to it, and I was taking a very low dose, and it just wasn't reacting well to me at all. In hindsight, yeah, it's not reacting well to you because you're a woman. You're not supposed to have testosterone in your body, so of course it's not going to react with you well. And I have autoimmune conditions, so that's doubly ruining my body. But yeah, I got fed up with her. I contacted actually Dr. William Powers. He's very good when it comes to transgender medicine. He's sort of very reputable, and he's in America, but I sent him an email, and it wasn't like he was charging me or anything. He just said, oh, you want to try these alternate androgens? He gave me a whole list, and I asked my endocrinologist, and she said, no, we don't have them in Australia, can't prescribe them to you. And I got back to Dr. Powers and went, no, they're available over there. Maybe you want to see a different endocrinologist. And I always had issues with that endo anyway. I've reported her to the that's APRA, I don't know how you ARPH. Anyway, it's just the medical board. You report any practitioners you think are not practicing as they should. And yeah, I mean, the whole reason I was able to transition was not that I had a therapist approval. You're supposed to have a letter from a psychologist and a psychiatrist, or at least at the time that was the rules for me. And the psychiatrist, he seemed pretty indifferent, and he just, oh yeah, whatever. I mean, you're on the autism spectrum, which puts you at a high risk of detransitioning, just so you're aware. Apparently he said that. I have no memory of that, but that's what's written in the letter. There's a lot of my memories that I don't realize I've forgotten. We'll get to that in a minute. But my endocrinologist, she didn't care that I didn't have the letter from a psychologist. She went, oh, well, they just make you jump through hoops. I'm a cool endo. I'm just going to let you start taking testosterone, even though you've never shown any signs of being transgender before about a couple of years ago, but oh well. So she shouldn't have done that. And look, I probably would have ended up finding a way to transition anyway, because I was just that hell-bent determined on it, but at least I will stop someone else seeing her and being mistreated the same way. It's not just that. It's not just that she let me transition. It's that I had all sorts of awful symptoms. There was, just the minor ones were bloating, priapism. That's a full-time boner, and it's really painful, just in case you were wondering. But aside from that, I was having all these violent impulses. I didn't act on them, but just I was this psychopath. It was awful. I'm amazed I actually managed to make it to that appointment to see her when she took me off those, I don't remember which one that was. I think it was Testosterone, I can't remember. But yeah, at the time I didn't understand that, you can just stop taking hormones, because I thought, well, if I stop, will I have some kind of negative reaction? I couldn't find any information on that, and, it was like a drug addiction anyway, so I really didn't want to stop. So, yes, getting back on track. I went, okay, I'm done with this endocrinologist. I went to go see the sexual health clinic, and they wanted me to go see a therapist first. Okay, fair enough, don't mind. And by the time I saw that therapist, I think I was still living as a man, but I think I was on the fence at that point. I'm going, I don't think I actually want to transition, and what can I do about that? And then I got a phone call from the sexual health clinic saying, we got the letter from the therapist saying that you're detransitioning. Yeah, could you help me with that? Do you know anything about detransitioning and health and all that? And I got the impression that this woman basically wanted to hang up immediately. It's just like, oh, you're detrans? Ugh, filth. He doesn't want anything to do with me. And even in the, what is it, half a year or so since I've detransitioned, every medical professional I have spoken to just has no idea what that is, doesn't want anything to do with it. So that's brilliant. But yes, this therapist is really good. I've never actually had a good therapist before. They were always disappointed. They didn't seem to understand me, and a lot of them just wanted to refer me to someone else. Like, I don't know how to deal with this. Maybe this other person will be able to help. But she really took the time to figure it out. She went, I don't want to just put you in the too hard basket. I really want to try to help you through this. And so we did 6-hour-long sessions for 6 weeks almost straight, aside from lockdowns and having to cancel appointments and stuff. But she wasn't, well, the most important thing was that she, unlike my last therapist, who arguably made me worse, and I should probably also report her, she went, oh, you're having these... if you're new to the channel, so I had this delusion that I was a robot. I don't know. It's so weird to me to say that now. I don't recognize that person at all. I was insane. I was actually insane. That's the definition of insane. I apologize if you can hear my neighbor. She's very loud. She'll talk for a long time, so I'm just gonna keep talking over her. Hopefully it's not an issue. But yes, my last therapist said, you should embrace your android identity. I'm not about conversion therapy and telling people how to identify, so you should just learn to accept how you feel on the inside. Like, that's insane. And also, I don't think that's the attitude to have with transgender people either, because a lot of gender dysphoria is not actual gender dysphoria, and we've spoken about that on this channel before, that a lot of the times it might be the result of trauma, of sexual abuse, of dealing with the patriarchy day in and day out. There's a lot of reasons why you might feel dysphoric with your gender, and it has absolutely nothing to do with an actual medical, clinical case of transsexuality. So I really do think that transitioning should be the last resort, not the first. But we're living in a society now where they're not really screening anyone claiming to be trans. It's just, oh, well, if you say you're trans, you are trans, here's some hormones, off you go. And I'm someone who definitely got caught in the crossfire of this political debate. And medicine should not be political, but, well, it is and always has been. But yes, I saw this therapist, and she, really listened, really understood me in a way that no therapist has. And at the end of that 6 weeks, she said, I think you have non-NMDA encephalitis. Now, I'm not quite sure what the difference is between different kinds of encephalitis, but when she told me that, it made a lot of sense. So if you've ever read or watched Brain on Fire, it's a true story. That's Susanna Kalin. She's this reporter who, normal life, had a career, boyfriend, all of that. All of a sudden, she starts just losing her mind, and not just acting bipolar, which is what they thought it was initially. She was declining mentally. She was becoming catatonic sometimes, or she'd go into these fits of rage. She would drool, tongue hanging out of her head, like her brain was dying. And she was passed from therapist to therapist and doctor to doctor, and at first like, oh, it's bipolar, oh, you're just drinking too much. And she was like, I mean I might drink, but I don't drink that much, and haven't had anything to drink in weeks and weeks. It's clearly, nope, it's withdrawals. Nope, you definitely, just wash my hands of this situation. You clearly just an alcoholic. That's all that's going on. But she's having seizures and all of that. Like, that's not just a mental illness. That's neurological. And things got really intense for a while there. And her family was really worried, and they thought they're going to have to just, put her in a mental institution or a home. She wasn't even able to go to the bathroom by herself. And suddenly this, I can't remember the doctor's name, but this guy, absolute legend, like Dr. House just comes in and goes, I know exactly what this is. I mean, he didn't immediately know, but pretty quickly he went, it's encephalitis. And what happened with her was there was a puncture between her blood-brain barrier, which, look that up. That's fascinating and terrifying, especially when things go awry. But yeah, so her immune system was attacking her own brain. And that's why she had this intense encephalitis, this inflammation of the brain. And I'm always talking about inflammation. Inflammation is the root cause of most issues, or at least that is one of the major symptoms. And if you treat that, you treat most of the condition, whatever it is. And unintentionally, that's kind of what I did for myself. So I don't think I've got some kind of puncture between my blood-brain barrier, but I do have some kind of neurological brain inflammation, if you will. And that explains why I've had all these issues my entire life. So if you're new here, I was a very normal child. And then by the time I was 11, just all of a sudden, I had gastro. And I was never right again after that. I, for all intents and purposes, had autism. Every symptom of autism. And I had IBS, I had all these food intolerances, I had trouble sleeping. Well, I didn't realize I had trouble sleeping. I used to think it was normal to take 2 and 3 hours to fall asleep. No, you can fall asleep in about 20 minutes, turns out. And then further down the line, I was always a very strange kid. I had all these weird tics and personality and just everything. It was very, very autistic and very obsessive. Had all these weird phobias, heliophobia, fear of the sun. I don't know why I had this pathological need to avoid the sun. So bizarre. And or I had this weird sense of humor. I'd make jokes that no one else really understood. I was making these references that only I knew about. So yeah, that's typical autism. And then when I was 21, I got bum of forest virus. So I got bitten by a mosquito, and I suddenly had chronic fatigue syndrome that lasted for 18 months. Then it went away. But then I had gender dysphoria. I just all of a sudden, out of the blue, I just went, I think I'm a boy. What do I do about that? How do I treat that? How do I become a boy or a man? And it was just so strange. And I think everyone around me knew it was strange, but I was such a strange kid that no one sort of went, okay, this is the latest weird, stupid bullshit she's on now, I guess. So I'm hoping, and maybe it's my own bias, but I feel like the whole transgender thing is on a little bit of a decline, just ever so slightly. I think we hit the summit. Now it's going down again. So at this point when I transition, it's the most popular thing in the world, and everyone knows, you got to be woke and you got to accept everybody for whatever they identify as, and don't question it even if you are related to them and you know them very well and you think that this is a bad decision. No, can't say anything because they might kill themselves. Okay, I mean, detransitioners kill themselves too, so using suicide as a threat is, A, childish, and B, inaccurate. You might actually be pushing someone to make a mistake that will later make them kill themselves. So, yeah, it's irrelevant. Decided to tell my neighbor to be quiet because I'm recording a video, and interestingly, she said to the other neighbor, he's filming a video. I mean, she's filming it. So it's interesting, she still thinks of me as Connor. So when I first moved into this apartment, I was living as a man, and everyone just knew me as Connor and didn't know my backstory. And at a certain stage, I had to basically just, go, this is who I am. I was never really a man. Sorry to have deceived you all. Encephalitis makes a lot of sense because, I have all these convulsions. I had this kind of split personality thing going on. So, Connor became this character unto himself, and he had different interests, he had different motivations. I read things that he wrote, and it's really freaky. I mean, I'll include that in my memoir when I get around to frickin' finishing it. And in his writing, he's quite apologetic for his existence. He lives to serve. He's very selfless. He's basically there to protect me, and yeah, that's not me at all. And we would also, he and I guess, it's whatever. I used to have this, I mean, I still have a huge imagination, but I would have intrusive thoughts, maladaptive daydreaming, hallucinations, lucid dreams. I used to be able to do all of that very easily, and I mean, I still have a big imagination. I think I still have hyperphantasia, but I can control it. It's not overwhelming, and it's just, I feel like a totally different person. It's so difficult for me to continue on doing certain things from my past life, having a relationship with certain people. I've, drifted away from some, the ones who didn't reject me outright, probably because I turned into Connor and I was crazy and weird, and they probably had enough of me. I don't blame them. And I don't know if I could be friends with those people now, because, we never really met. I was crazy the entire time you knew me, so it explains so much about my experience and all the little things that I couldn't put together, or so many different symptoms that didn't, you can't just have 3 different unrelated illnesses, right? Well, yes and no. I mean, sometimes yes. Sometimes you just have completely unrelated diseases trying to kill you at the same time. But in my case, it seems like the autism, the transgender dysphoria, the convulsions, the paralysis, the, all the weird shit going on with my brain, fatigue, it's all one thing. It's encephalitis. So obviously when I was about 11, I must have had this autoimmune response, and that changed the way my brain worked. I got another virus with Balmer Forest, and that just made me spiral even further out of control. And unintentionally, by going on the carnivore diet, by fasting, cold showers, red light therapy, megadosing vitamin D, all the things I can to not only improve my immune system, but reduce inflammation. So when I stick to my very strict routine, I seem to be fine. Still dealing with fatigue to a degree, but I'm a lot better than I used to be. So the next step, and we'll be seeing a GP in a couple of days. I'll ask her to refer me to get an EEG. So I've had an MRI years ago and they found nothing. And then MRI generally doesn't, at least for these sorts of things. MRI is good for brain lesions, bleeding on the brain, tumors, major structural changes like that. Inflammation doesn't tend to show up there. An EEG might, and the most likely way of telling is a spinal tap. No way, I'm not doing that. I think if the EEG doesn't show anything up, I mean, I'm already in disability pension. I already know I have chronic fatigue. I've got as much confirmation as I need. But it's interesting. So the spinal tap, which they did on Susanna in Brain on Fire. Read that book, by the way. Amazing. Apparently the movie's not that good, but yeah. Book's good. And that's another thing too. I used to love all the science fiction and fantasy and all that, which I still do to a degree. But I'm much more invested in non-fiction, autobiographies, just real stories, and learning about real things. So, yeah, again, just who am I? I'm learning. But I don't know how I'm going to work that story, and that's funny, though. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to tell this story right now. Again, so trying to learn who this new person is that I am. So I'm really into Cobra Kai. I've mentioned it in other videos. I've watched the first 2 Karate Kids again recently. I think I only saw the first one as a kid, didn't see the second. And the third one's not on Netflix, so okay, helpful. But yeah, watch the second one, and I have not cried since I was a child. But when I got my period coming on, I do get a little bit clucky and a little bit hormonal. And I'm watching Karate Kid 2, and I don't know, Daniel's just been a real cute, real considerate boy. I'm just like, Ralph Macchio's such a good kid. I'd love to have a son like that. He's just so nice. I had to laugh at myself, but yeah, it's just like when I see children and babies, something happens. So, if anyone knows how to contact Ralph Macchio, let him know. I want him to know that. Anyway, what the shit were we talking about? I want to talk about costs. That's my default, but I'm pretty sure I was talking about something else. Oh, yeah, spinal taps. Fuck. Ugh, yeah. So, bloody spinal taps. Pain goes all the way to 11, let me tell your friend. I mean, some people say, oh, it's not that bad. No, liars. It's the worst. But, so they pull spinal fluid out of your spine. Ugh. And they see the white blood cell count in your back fluids, and they check in your transmission fluids basically. And if there's too many white blood cells in there, which there should be very, very little or none, if you've got white blood cells in your transmission fluid there, you've got encephalitis of the brain. So yeah, I'm very stoic. I like to push myself beyond my comfort zone and deal with challenges and pain and all of that and see if I can overcome it. I want kids, so clearly pain is not a deterrent here. But yeah, I don't know, something about the spinal tap of all things just makes me real queasy. I don't think I'm an especially queasy person. I've skinned rabbits. I can look at all sorts of graphic stuff. But, I don't know, when I was going through my transhuman dysphoria thing, I was definitely very grossed out by the human anatomy and everything biological, so. But yeah, I don't know if I would go that far, but I'll keep you posted, see what the EEG says, and, it would be nice to just have some confirmation of what's going on, and that might facilitate in me getting some kind of medication to improve my health even more so. I am still waiting to see a rheumatologist, so we shall see. I don't know, I think maybe they would still, given all the symptoms I have, they might just say, okay, well, we'll treat you as if you have encephalitis. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, so that would be nice. I really don't want to get a spinal tap. But it is nice to have this single unifying cause for all these things I've experienced, and it explains why the autism, the transgender dysphoria, the transhuman dysphoria, all of it, and the fatigue to a degree, all of it seems to have diminished all at the same time. And that can't be coincidence. So, yeah, inflammation is what got me into this situation, and it's very difficult to look back on the things I've done in my past and understand my accountability, I suppose, in those situations. How accountable was I? I wasn't in a sane state of mind, was I? I wasn't as severe as Susanna, where, no, she was clearly insane. Like, that's not normal adult human behavior. That's just clearly someone out of control. But for me, it's been much more subtle, where I can have a calm, rational discussion with you about how I'm a robot, So I definitely had a lot of those delusions. Well, she did too, actually, where she started to believe that she had the power to change reality around her, and all she had to do was speak and people obeyed her. It's like, no, people are afraid of you freaking out, so everyone's just saying, yes, dear. Yes, okay, we'll give you what you want, just calm down. I have the power to control minds. Yeah, and it's the same thing with my whole robot delusion. It's just, this was my brain's way of explaining what I was experiencing, I guess. If you can hear a cat meowing, I've adopted a cat now. He's not even my cat. He's just a neighbor's cat who decides he likes me. I'll bring him in. Oh, he's climbing the walls. He's trying to get it. Say hello to YouTube, Bucky. Apparently his actual name is Mr. Pud, but that's a dumb name, and I don't like it. So his name is Bucky now, because I was putting out the laundry, and he wandered into my apartment, just as you like, and I said, "Oi, Bucko, what are you doing in here? So I just called him Bucko, then Buck, and then Bucky. So this is where we are at. So, oh, thank you. He's just left leaves and crap everywhere. And he seems to know. No matter what time I have my one meal of the day, he knows. He will always come scratching at that door. I mean, it's between like 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. But how does he know specifically? Can he hear cooking going on? Can he smell it? I don't know. But yes, accountability. I don't know how to feel about things I've done in my past. Although I always hear people say, "Oh, lying in bed at night thinking about some embarrassing shit I did when I was a teenager or last week, and just wanting the ground to swallow me up, and I'm cringing." And I've never experienced that, and so far I haven't done anything embarrassing as myself. I definitely look back at what I was doing when I was insane and going, geez, what were you thinking? And ugh, what are you wearing? And yeah, I definitely, I look back and go, oh, you were not in your right mind, but I kind of, it's almost pity, I guess, where I just go, geez, I was not in a good place. I was not doing well, and I didn't look well. I don't cringe or feel regret, because it doesn't feel like I did those things. I don't feel like I was in control. So yeah, that's one of the nice benefits. I can just say, I didn't choose to do that. That wasn't me. So I sleep very well generally, except last night. No idea why. Just having hot flushes. Hopefully I'm not going through like early menopause. Oh, that brings me to my next topic. I got my first pap smear, yay! Yeah, so I'd never had one before. I mean, I've had the vaccine, so, that defends against a lot of it, and I also, the Gardasil, I think it's called, and I also never had sex, as far as I'm aware, and, oh, hello, okay, trying to get my attention now, anyway, yeah, I don't think I've ever had sex, but there's so many aspects of my memory that I don't remember. Like, my mum will mention something, no I didn't, or my brother will. For example, my mum said, oh, your boss from this costume store came in. I went, wait, which one? When did I work at a costume store? Oh, it wasn't very long. I'd remember that, wouldn't I? And I think I kind of do now. It took me a long time. I don't know if I'm just imagining things and kind of filling in those gaps, but yes, buddy, what do you want? Oh, okay, he's headbutting me. Okay, this is not good for filming. This is not very professional, I'm sorry. But the internet likes cats. This is what you want, right? Yeah. Focus on this. Okay, I've got a Pixel 2 now. I had a Pixel 3 with a fucked camera. And, yeah, this seems to be less blurry. And the camera's not as big, so my little lady hands can hold it. I had a 3XL, I should say. Hey, I'm trying to film a video. What do you hear? What do your elephant eyes see? Thanks. I thought I may as well do this just in case. Also, we know jack shit about detransition health, but we do know that testosterone increases your chances of cancer of all kinds. So I thought, well, you know what? Better safe than sorry. I'm going to take the initiative here, even if doctors saying, oh, you're too young, you've had the Gardasil, you've never had sex, as far as we know. So, yeah. I mean, I was expecting to have a hymen. I know every woman has a hymen, but I do not have a hymen, never did, as far as I'm aware. So, that's another thing that makes me a little suspicious. Like, what have I been doing in these blackouts? Anyway, so, but I told the woman, the gynecologist performing the pap smear. She's like, so have you had sex? Like, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember a lot of the last 5 years of my life. And I think some people must think, oh, it's kind of convenient. Oh, you just black out like 5 years. I mean, I didn't totally block out 5 years of my entire... I want to make that clear. It's just bits and pieces of patchy in ways that I did not expect. But, yeah, I was having fun. I was making jokes. Turns out that we were having trouble finding my cervix, and turns out, much like the JFK assassination, it's back and to the left. So yeah, it sort of angles that away. It's a reverse camera, so this is very confusing. But yeah, it explains why I've always peed on an angle. My entire vagina is leaning rightward. So I don't know if that's going to complicate childbirth, because my mum had to have a cesarean for every single one of us. So that might be the case for me too. Baby's coming out sideways. But yeah, so and I actually had to put the thing up in, like, I was getting up on my knees on the bed and just like, okay, using gravity to get up in there. I don't know why, it just did not. It's on an angle. I mean, I'm not into penetration anyway, so it's not like I have a lot of experience with that. So yeah, the joke I made was, we can't quit now. We're in too deep, except into my vagina, which apparently we can't get deep enough into. and I was saying to her, oh, hello, Keith. Okay, come on, buddy. And yeah, I was saying to her, this is a weird job, isn't it? She went, yeah, this is a pretty weird job. Hey, excuse me, Mr. Pud, Bucky, you got your butthole in my face. I don't care for this. Could you please get your butt over there? There you go. I'm always worried that I don't have enough visual interests in my videos. That's why I'm always throwing lights around the place, not just because I have a, Miami Vice / John Carpenter fetish, but yeah. But now I got this buddy in the background, so like and subscribe for kitty cats. So perhaps ma'am came back clear, so that's good. And she told me that I should probably go get an ultrasound on my titties, because you can't have a breast screening under a certain age because the breast tissue is just so dense that it all looks like a white mass, so you can't really tell what's going on in there. So yeah, I will get that. I'll get a referral to an EEG. I think that's everything else. Another weird step in my detransition. I didn't even think it was a step in my detransition, but I got my hair cut. First haircut I've gotten as a woman, and the first haircut I think I've gotten professionally in many years. I was shaving my head before COVID, so that was an issue. But so I cut the bottom layer, so it's more of a bob now, and I think I've made my hair look even more 80s. So it's just so much hair. I don't have to do. I mean, I did blow dry my hair to dry it this morning because I was going out. Because if I don't, it is just like an afro. I need to kind of calm it down a little. So as a man, I'm used to walking into any walk-in hairdresser's barbershop, waiting for about maybe 15 minutes, half an hour, and you get your hair cut. And you pay like $15, right? Yeah, no. I walked to a few hairdressers near me, and all of them were busy. I was like, okay, gee. So I went up to this shopping center near me, and all the walk-in salons were closed, like under renovation or whatever, just coincidentally. And the only other one there was booked out for another 2 hours or so. I went, well, okay, screw that. So then I made a booking, went to just some random place, didn't really think about it, got my hair cut, wasn't even thinking about the price, and I was like $100. Well, what the? Oh god, okay, I really can't afford that, but and it was just cutting the bottom layer and cutting my fringe a little bit. They didn't really do much. That is insane. I don't think a man's haircut would ever be that much. I went to a lot of different barbers, and even if you got everything done, I don't think it was anywhere near that much. It's ridiculous, and I had no idea. I mean, when I was getting my haircut as a woman, it was a long time ago, and my parents were covering everything. I wasn't really thinking about money, and especially because I was autistic or whatever I was. I'm still going to say I'm autistic, even if it was caused by encephalitis. If you got every symptom of autism, and we don't know what causes autism, you're autistic. Like, that's autism, dude. That's like saying, oh, well, if you got chronic fatigue from Lyme disease, well, that's not real chronic fatigue then. Like, no, it's the same thing. But yeah, I didn't have an awareness of finances. I really took a lot of things for granted, and I didn't really understand the full significant. Like, now I'm paying for the driving lessons and the car and everything all by myself, and just going, wow, I so wish that I had done all this when I was 18, when mummy and daddy were paying for it. But at the same time, it means something to me now. I was just driving because, well, you're supposed to as an adult. That's why I was learning to drive when I was 18. But now it's like, this is a passion. This is something I really care about. The car I'm choosing is significant to me. So, yeah. I didn't have much of an awareness politically. I just couldn't wrap my brain around politics and like, well, this person made a really good point, but this also person makes a really good point. But everyone says that they're all lying. So, well, how do you know who to try? I was so naive and didn't understand. So, when I was voting as in my late teens and early 20s, I just did whatever my parents told me. And they're right wing, so they were directly voting against their own interests. Good job, guys. But yeah, I had no idea what I was voting for. I didn't understand. But as an adult, you are, even if you have a disability, you are expected to vote, which makes me wonder, I don't know, should everyone vote? Maybe some people should be exempt if you don't fully understand, but that's how democracy works, I guess. So, but yeah, in terms of money, I don't think I had a clue, and I have no idea what I was paying for a haircut or what I would have expected to pay for a haircut back then. But yeah, now I know. I think that day I expected, I'm just gonna walk up the road. There's a guy who cuts hair. I'll just go to him. And he was busy. Oh, okay. So I'll make bookings in advance and see what the prices are, because, yeah, men don't have to pay hardly anything. It's ridiculous. That's the pink tax for you. But when I was wandering from salon to salon, like, what the hell is going on? It's a Thursday in the middle of the day. I thought I'd be fine. Like, why is everyone getting their haircuts? I went, oh, because I'm a woman. You're supposed to make an appointment. And yeah, men... There's a reason why barbers just let people walk in, because men do not think that far in advance. Men are very bad at organization, generally speaking. The thought I've been having lately, especially after getting the pap smear, is how little people know about detransitioning and detrans medicine. And that's the primary reason I am documenting as much as I can through this video, although for me, all I'm detransitioning from is hormones. So people have had, the hysterectomies or the phalloplasties, vaginoplasties, all of that. It's harder to know what's going to happen to these people down the line. But I have to say that just stopping testosterone, it is pretty straightforward. I haven't had too many complications. It's just mostly frustrating dealing with, still having facial hair or the voice. I mean, I like my voice now. I've said that many times, and I don't care how many people in the comment section, you sound like a man. Maybe that's what I want. Did you ever think I did this on purpose? I mean, technically I did do it on purpose, but then it wasn't actually me. It was Connor, and I was having a mental breakdown, but what is accountability? But honestly, yeah, do not regret my voice. I like it. So that's one advantage, but it's going to be interesting. In the next few years, I think we're going to get a whole heap of very deep-voiced women who, are millennials or Zoomers who are going to be like, oh, yeah, no, I went through a transgender phase. Oh, didn't we all? So, Legally Blonde. That's my final thought for this video. I started watching, I didn't finish it, I started watching Legally Blonde last night because, it's one of those obnoxiously girly movies that, growing up, I thought was kind of lame. I mean, I watched some girly movies at sleepovers, but my friends, they were tomboys as well, so we were watching Harry Potter, Austin Powers. We watched Austin Powers so many times, I can probably tell you all the dialogue from memory. But yeah, we were definitely not... Oh, and Lord of the Rings. So how could I forget Lord of the... We were just... The foundation of our friendship was Lord of the Rings, and we weren't particularly interested in the female characters in that either, which... Well, the female characters are pretty boring in Lord of the Rings, so I don't blame you. But yeah, we were so interested in these male-dominated genres and franchises, and we'd occasionally watch girly movies, but it was just like... But we're not like other girls. We're much cooler than that. We're not girly girls. And so, yeah, like something like Mean Girls, I watched that as a teenager and didn't really get it at all. I did not get me. I mean, I understood some of the humor, but I didn't understand how clever it was as satire. And Legally Blonde, I think, is just such a gorgeous movie because, yeah, she is absolutely feminine. Her favorite color is pink. She is a living Barbie doll. And she's intelligent. She is resourceful. She learns things. She's an autodidact. She learns so quickly. She is, you can't fool her. She's definitely with it and knows when people are trying to deceive her. So she defies the stereotype of being the blonde bimbo. And yeah, I really did not appreciate that movie as a kid, and it's probably one of those movies that I would have just I would not be caught dead watching. But yeah, now I realize there's so much value in movies like that, and I wish I was exposed more to these positive female feminine role models. 13 Going on 30, I think I want to watch that one again. I actually liked that one as a kid, but I don't think I would fully have appreciated it as I can now. But, I had this realization that, there are strong female role models. Ripley in Alien, Sarah Connor in the Terminator franchise. Of course, we've got characters like that. But where are the girly girls who are role models? In the case of Ripley and Sarah Connor, they're very butch. They never get to explore their feminine side. They are in this life or death situation. So it's not that it's a bad role model. It's just not an applicable role model to the little girl that I was. It kind of almost perpetuated this idea that to be strong, you can't be girly. Girly is weak. And we also have this weird bias, this stereotype, this notion that movies about men are for everyone. Movies about women are for women. What the hell? So it's furthering that idea that man is the default. Where the hell does that come from? Why is man the default? Because, it's certainly not based on biological fact. Female is the default. In the womb, everyone starts off as female, and then the genitals will develop into, they'll either remain a vagina or become a penis. So biologically, female's the default. But in a species with two sexes and two genders, there are only two genders, fight me, non-binary people. But yeah, in a world where, you need sex to perpetuate your race, you need a male and a female. So what the hell is a default? It's not even that, there are some species where it's 90% female and then 10% male, or they can swap gender, or in a species like humans, it's 50-50, and you need men and women. The idea that man is default and woman is not is ridiculous. Where is this idea that women's business is exclusively women's? We don't even want to hear about it. We don't want to talk about it. Men's stuff, we'll talk about. Men will talk about, coming in a jar with a My Little Pony in it, true story. They'll talk about all this horrible graphic stuff about their body. But a woman mentions, I've got my period. It's like, I don't want to, what is that? It's so stupid, and we should be more evolved as a people at this point, but we are not. I think we're slowly getting better, that, especially children, they're not this is a boys' show and this is a girls' show. It's just it doesn't really matter what the main character is. If it's an interesting story, I'll watch it. It's really fascinating to watch this current generation of young kids, because they don't understand that bias at all. Because I was talking to, she's about 6, one of my neighbours. I was saying, I used to be sort of teased a little bit for being different or that. It's like, why? I'm like, I guess you don't have those gender differences anymore. No one thinks that way. Speaking of kids and all this transgender stuff, yes, I still want to make a video about what we should be doing with non-gender conforming kids. But my final thought, because Legally Blonde was supposed to be my final thought, but, I mentioned just briefly that non-binary is not a real thing. Yeah, I have come to this point. I think most people who embrace it are not actually thinking critically. It's like, oh, if you want to be non-binary, okay. No, there is no real reason you should not identify as your own biological fucking sex. Because, well, I mean, taking their word for it, gender is a social construct. Exactly. So no one's telling you how to be or feel as a woman or as a man. And I know I've got so many non-binary people in the comment section. It's not about how you present or how you behave. It's like an internal thing. That's called a delusion. That's just crazy. That's just... So you're just being difficult. Like, you don't actually have an issue with being a woman or presenting as a woman. But on the inside, I'm actually non-binary. The fuck? What is that? You just want to be special. You're not special enough. You're too boring. You're a basic bitch, and you want something that makes you stand out. Sorry, I'm on my soapbox here, but yeah, I think non-binary people especially stand in the face of what transsexuals stand for. Transsexuals very much believe in the gender binary. You're either a man or a woman, and they very much want to be the opposite. They're working very hard to get themselves to be as close to that as possible. And non-binary is just some bullshit where it's like, oh, maybe I'm androgynous, but maybe I just like dressing as my biological sex. But on the inside, you see, I'm very special. I'm very unique and special. That's all it is. I can see through the bullshit now. Courtney Colson does not say non-binary rights. I do say trans rights. I think genuine adult cases of transsexuality, right on, go ahead, transition after, being properly informed and giving proper consent and having therapy and all of that. Anyone else? GTFO. All right. See you, Space Cowboy.